This is my review of Star Trek Picard, Episode 8, titled Surrender, Season 3, Final Season. And wow, what a eventful episode this actually was. Now, if you remember in the previous episode, the crew of the Titan were captured by Vedek's crew, and the battle between Lore and Data, with him compromising the actual ship. We pick up with this episode with the bridge of the Titan under Vedek's control, and I must say that Amanda Plummer played the role so well. You can almost you see like a theatrical villain that she's kind of playing, and also she's very sadistic and almost also taking pleasure in what she's kind of actually doing. And that, as I said before, was played by the actress. Right, she plays the villain so well. Um, Sometimes when we see with its TV villains or movie villains, it's so hard, to kind of find a believable villain that you kind of believe that is actually a threat and almost charming in that sense. And she's been a very, 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 very good villain. Villain, so she's like the foil to Picard. And I think that with the previous two seasons, I think we haven't had such a strong villain, even with the previous seasons, with obviously with the Borg and obviously with Q. But Amanda Plummer is playing the villainess. She was absolutely brilliant, and obviously you can obviously Beanie, the daughter of like her father, who obviously played the villain in Star Trek 6. You can definitely see hints of that in her character. Obviously, she still wants Jack, and she seems to know a lot more about Jack's abilities than that she's actually telling. And you do kind of get snippets of things that she seems to know. So the visions that Jack seems to be having, she seems to know exactly kind of what's kind of going on, and kind of almost teasing him, tantally teasing him with what he's experiencing, but then at the same time not kind of telling him exactly right what's kind of going on. And then her basic plan is obviously that she wants him to give himself up, otherwise she will start executing the bridge crew one by one. And obviously with the stuff that she's gone through in her changelings, Brethrens, infiltrating Starfleet, you can well believe that she's fully well capable of implementing in executing the crew to getting what she wants. And obviously because of the boss that she's working hard up against, who we still don't know who that is. And I'm hoping that by the end of the this season, we've only been two episodes left, that we do find out who the big villain is, or the talking head that she's talking to. We then go back aboard the Shrek, where we have Riker and Deanna Troi, obviously both still being held captive, and there seems to be a drama obviously between the two, especially that she doesn't seem to be happy with that, obviously, that he's left to go and help Picard, and obviously with her family. And also there's still the ongoing emotional issues of them losing their son, and also with each of the way where Deanna Troi and the way that Riker has dealt with the grief. And I thought this was really great, because obviously we all go through grief in some way, in all forms of life, all of us do. And then everybody's got their own way of kind of dealing with grief. Some of us will try to do things to try and not think about grief, while some of us try to face it head on. And I've liked the acting between Marina Sirtis and Jonathan Frakes, and obviously in dealing with such a emotional tragedy that happened, which happened between the two of them. And obviously things like this do happen in real life, where people do lose their children, and it's for dealing with grief. And obviously, with her being a beta sword, and she can read minds. Obviously, we get a little background as to what she's been doing, and it's kind of, I think, in a way, obviously with them being captured and obviously them thinking that they're going to die, that being able to speak about how they truly feel and getting it out on the open was, in a way, therapy in them kind of dealing with that grief, even though it happened, well, from their perspective, well, from their timeline, a good while ago. But grief can still affect us all throughout life, and it's how you kind of deal with it and having to live with it. So I thought that scene was really was really great. We then also go back to the story with Data and Law, and obviously they need Data's help in taking back the ship. But obviously we've got the problem with the different program subroutines inside Data, because obviously we've got the B4 the Union song and the Law program still in there, but then we've got the big battle between Data and Law, and obviously the Law program wants to obviously dominate the Data persona and then fully take over obviously his physical body. And again, we do see this happen between obviously Data and Law, and then we do get a little snippets of Easter eggs from the Next Generation series, where the different memories that that Data had that made him Data, and then obviously it's the battle obviously between the Data personality and the Law personality, and so we go back to the bridge of the Titan, and obviously Vidic isn't obviously happy about Jack not giving himself up. Jack, of course, is feeling guilty because many people obviously have sacrificed themselves, and many more will die if he doesn't hand himself over. And obviously he wants to do this, but Picard and Beverly don't want him to do this, because we all know that bad guys never live up to their word in the sense of keeping everybody alive. Obviously, they're going to kill everybody. I mean, so Vidic, should I say, decides to go down a really drastic route. And all I can say is that I'm shocked that for once that it wasn't a red shirt, but I wasn't kind of expecting that. And again, as I said before in the beginning of this review, seeing Vidic being very sadistic and she was taking pleasure in what she ended up doing to a crew member. And even I actually found that quite shocking as well, because it must have been, because it seemed, well, it was horrible in terms of what happened and what transpired. And obviously things are going to get much worse if obviously Jack doesn't hand himself over. He does try to use one of his newfound abilities to try and rectify the situation, but of course, as this being Star Trek, this doesn't work, as we kind of know, and obviously that leads to Vidic taking action. We then go back to the Shrike, and then obviously we still have Riker and Troy, and obviously still held captive. And they're I don't know what's about to happen with one of the villain's henchmen, and then they end up getting rescued by a very familiar face. And there's actually quite a funny scene with Deanna Troi and well, I might as well say it because it's gonna be a little bit of a spoiler, and with Worf, who we didn't see Worf and Raffi in the previous episode, but I did have a feeling that they would play a part in this episode. And this awkward scene with Worf and Deanna, and obviously Riker just standing there looking totally perplexed. We then end up obviously they end up getting back onto the actual shuttle, obviously trying to get back onto the Titan, but obviously they then kind of realized obviously that the ship is compromised. And then obviously we go back to obviously the inside the mind of Data and Law, and basically only one of them can, the dominant one, can kind of survive. And all I can say without spoiling is Data that actually does something really smart, which for once I didn't see coming, and it was actually very clever in how he dealt with the situation. Jack obviously decides to buy a little time while the Data and Law persona end up fighting for dominance. And then obviously, as you know, Vadek still carries on taunting Jack, because obviously the mystery of the roots growing on the ship and the red door, and being able to read people's minds and take over people. And then obviously she knows exactly what's going on, but then she's not giving him the full answers. And when obviously he's prepared to blow himself up with this device, which obviously is not going to affect her. And then she's constantly kind of taunting and kind of teasing him, which all good villains do. And then, as I said before, the Data and Law persona battle ends up in victory. And then our heroes manage to take control of the ship. And then all I can say without spoiling too much is Vedek is dealt with. And what I thought was really great from 7 of 9 is that she actually uses a Janeway line that Janeway has used quite a few times in Star Trek Voyager, and it was kind of great seeing her obviously use a line that Captain Janeway often uses, right, when she wants somebody off of her bridge. And then Vidic actually says a really funny line in the actual episode, which was kind of really funny. And I would say that the way her character is dealt with, right, again without spoiling too much, I felt was very satisfying. So obviously there's still a lot more to go, because obviously the Changelings obviously want to destroy the Federation during Frontier Days, so we've still got that going on. Another scene that kind of brought a little tear to my eye, and obviously this has been the Next Generation fan, and because of these two particular character friendships were two of my favourite characters in the Next Generation, and that was Data and Geordi. And it was always obviously that best friendship that they had throughout the TV show and even the series, where obviously with the death of Data, and obviously it really affected Geordi. And obviously in the previous episode we saw Geordi explaining to Data or Stroke Law about how his death affected him, and obviously Law obviously didn't give a crap. And it was kind of nice seeing that scene where obviously that he evolved, that he's still mostly Data. He's incorporated all of those different subroutines from the other androids. So he's Data, but he's kind of a new Data, if you will. And then seeing Data telling Geordi about how much their friendship always meant to him, kind of brought a real tear to my eye, and that was kind of a really great scene. And then we see the crew all meet up together and have this big reunion, and again that brought a little tear to my eye. Seeing the original Next Generation crew all in one room, and then seeing them all together interacting, and that was fantastic. Again, it really brought the feels in the emotional level in seeing the Next Generation crew back together again. Because as I said before, when after watching the movie Star Trek Nemesis, we all thought that would be the last time that we would ever see the Next Generation crew again. And obviously years later, obviously they decided to do the Picard series, and obviously we The characters that we saw in the first season, the first and second season, were like Will Riker and Deanna Troi. And then I always thought whether or not that we would actually ever see the rest of the Next Generation crew again, and the fact that we were able to sit there and see them together again, it was kind of fantastic. It just brought back memories of the Next Generation series, and I know that definitely after when this season finally concludes, I think I'm definitely gonna go back and start watching the Next Generation again, because it's made me like hungry in terms of wanting to watch the show again, because I mean that's the Star Trek that I first grew up on as a teenager. So everything reflects now with Vidic being dealt with in terms of what is the changelings master plan in terms of what they're going to do in Frontier Day. We do know obviously that that they had Picard's body, that which was still riddled with the Irumodic syndrome that Picard suffered from. That they extracted that and they needed that for some strange reason, but we still don't know why. We've still got the stuff going on with Jack, and obviously with Deanna Troi being a beta Z, now she can obviously she will be able to uncover what's kind of going on, in the sense that she does feel a sense of darkness that is still around, which we again don't know as to what's going on there. And then she sits down with Jack Crusher, and then decides to help him uncover what's going on with him, and why is he having all this stuff, and what's going on at the Red Door. Obviously he's scared in wanting to find out the truth and what's kind of going on and what's beyond the Red Door. And that's where Deanna Troi decides to accompany him. And then as they're about to open the Red Door, that's when the episode ends. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and in terms of how they're going to wrap this all up and deal with everything, with only 2 episodes left. And with the final episode, I'm hoping that it's going to be an epic conclusion. Obviously, the previous episode we had the fake Captain Tuvok. I'm hoping that is definitely is resolved in a good way. I did read on Twitter that Tim Russ, who plays Tuvok, said that he's in at least 2 or 3 episodes. So hopefully we get the real Captain Tuvok back, and maybe even possibly see some more cameos from other legacy Star Trek characters, which I'm really hoping for. Maybe some Deep Space Nine ones, because we haven't seen any so far. But you know, it's never too late, and especially with Frontier Day apparently going to happen. Maybe we just might see some more legacy characters from the different shows. So I've got my fingers crossed that this will happen, because most of the guest stars that we've seen of the legacy Star Trek characters, they haven't been leaked out online. I mean, they've just happened as the episodes have just happened. So I'm hoping that this does happen. We obviously have seen like Captain Liam Shaw is really kind of warming up. He still acts like a dick, but you can see that his heart is still in a good place as a Starfleet officer, and he's starting to kind of warm up to the Next Generation crew. But so far, as I said before, each episode so far from episode 1 to episode 8, for me, keeps getting better and better and better. Each episode keeps adding more and more layers and layers and layers to the actual story, and making it feel more intrigued as to what's going to happen, and how it's all going to kind of play out. As I've said in previous episodes, that my greatest fear that what would happen is that we would get weaker episodes, and some episodes would be better than others, or sometimes, you know, in some shows you get filler episodes, and it's whether or not they would be able to continue the strong continuity with the narrative and the character development, and keeping obviously the story like really strong and consistent. And so far they've done it. So I'm really hoping that with the remaining 2 episodes that the 2 episodes do actually finish out really strongly, and especially with the finale, because I'm hoping for a really good send off if we don't see the Next Generation crew again, which they will be mad not to do another series, because I do know that they people do want, that the showrunners do want to do a Star Trek Legacy series. And as I said before, with how the reception has been for season 3 of Star Trek Picard, they will be mad not to do this. So I'm really hoping that this happens. Again, some other things I want to talk about. Obviously, with Data dying, well, he's died twice. Obviously, Nemesis and in season 1 of Picard, I thought the way that they brought him back, and obviously, like with Brent Spiner, obviously the android not meant to be aging and stuff, and I think that the way they've dealt with the aging thing with obviously with Data's body and the way that they brought him back, I thought it was a very cleverly done, and also made a lot of sense in the way that they actually did this. You don't feel as if it's over the top, or if it's been shortchanged in any way. So I'm really glad that we've got Data back. Hopefully he stays that way, and they don't do anything stupid for the 3rd time. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving Star Trek Picard season 3. It's like every individual episode so far, it feels like a big screen movie, in my honest opinion. Not just down to the cinematography and the special effects, but also the actual lighting, the actual special effects, as I said, even the musical themes in the actual episode, in all of them, in fact, where it just feels like a mini movie. So obviously there's been 3 or 4 Star Trek Next Generation movies, but with this, I feel like by the time the season ends, I feel like you're getting 10 Star Trek Next Generation movies in a way. And again, if I just wish that I'd done this from the beginning in terms of the actual quality of this particular season. But then, as I say, better late than never. Again, as I said, we've got 2 episodes left, and it's going to be very interesting in terms of how they wrap up the story, what's going on with Jack, what is the changelings and big major plan. Obviously they want to destroy Starfleet to get revenge in terms of what Starfleet did, but for me it's how they're going to go about doing it. And as I said before, it's finding the answers with Jack. Are we going to find out who the big bad of the talking head really is, and how they obviously going to wrap up this final season? So yeah, looking forward to episode 9 next week.